Months away, and social media has been such a core part of campaigning up until this point. Well, the US president, no stranger to posting on Twitter, has done so on Twitter and on Facebook already today. Shauna, what's the president had to say?
Well, it's no stranger for politics and politicians to be making comments on the podium, but now in 2020, when they make controversial comments on the podium and then translating it to social media, the big question is, how are social media platforms going to deal with it? One of the most controversial comments the US President Donald Trump has been making over the past week is that suggestion that people could be voting twice. Let's just take a listen to that.
And if on election day or early voting, that is not tabulated and counted, you go vote. And then if for some reason after that, it shouldn't take that long, it comes in, they're not going to be able to tabulate it because you will have voted. But you have to make sure your vote counts, because the only way they're going to beat us is by doing that kind of stuff.
Democrats have been coming back strongly on those statements that have been made on the podium. People like Bernie Sanders saying that it's illegal. We also have other Democrats echoing that very same sentiment. But then, just a few hours ago, he echoed that, bringing it from the podium to both Facebook and Twitter, issuing the exact same statement on both platforms. He said this on social media: if you're voting early via mail-in ballots, do so very early. Then on election day, he says if your vote isn't counted, again throwing that suggestion that mail-in voting is not a great system. Now, that hasn't been backed up with any sort of proof. He says go to the voting station and poll twice. That is something that has been quite heavily refuted. The biggest question, though, is how Facebook and Twitter were going to deal with that. And they both dealt with it in two very different ways. You can see here, this is a label that Facebook put on it saying that voting by mail has a long history of trustworthiness in the US. The same is predicted this year. If you click onto that label, it heads on to the Voting Information Centre that was released a few weeks ago. It gives people accurate and up-to-date information about voting, but also about, for example, updates by elected officials. One thing that this label doesn't do is say that it is in clear violation of the policies, which it is, seeing as they just updated their policies a few days ago. For Twitter, the label was a bit different. They cover the tweets in question if they are clashing with their particular policies, and they say that it is a clash with their policies. Let's just take a look down here. The exact same sentiment. It says this tweet violated their rules about civic and election integrity. Twitter determined that it may be of public interest to keep it up there, so they don't remove it in totality, but they do cover it, and then you have to click view through that to be able to see that tweet. That was controversial. So two very different policies, and the key question here is whether it's going to be warning people accurately whether something is not legal, for example, in terms of voting twice.
It's a difficult area for these social media companies, learning about how they should tell the public about what the President of the United States has had to say, but with these disclaimers on them. Now, what's been really interesting is that Facebook made an announcement about campaigning and the US election in the week before the population go to the polls. What is that change in policy?
So Facebook announced just a couple of hours before these posts were put up that they were going to be taking a stronger step with regards to how to deal with things like trying to curb people not to go to voting, for example. They made particular changes with regards to all of that. One change, for example, is political advertising. Politicians won't be able to head to the poll or vote, political advertisements the week of the election. That doesn't mean that there won't be any political advertisements on the platform for that week. It's just new political advertisements. They also said that if you question voting methods, like as such that Donald Trump did, that they will be putting labels on it, as what we've just seen. So that label is new that they've just put on it, but people questioning how well this will work and if it is strong enough, because many people saying that this is very election where social media will be playing a very key and crucial role with regards to all of this.
Shauna, thank you very much. There's lots more to come here on Good Morning Europe. Coming up